is Jenel Roberts, and welcome to Common Sense.
Hi everyone, my name is Rowena Elliot. Welcome to Common Sense.
Hi there everyone, I am Lyndell Danzie-Black. Welcome to Common Sense.
Hi everybody, my name is Earlecia Akilah Hieronymo and welcome to Common Sense.
Hi, I'm Nateshia and welcome to Common Sense.
Hi everyone, my name is Dominique Clarke and welcome to Common Sense.
Learn from mommy can't be a failure. Gotta be somebody, gotta make some money. Yeah. Common sense. You can't be a dunstug, you gotta get sense. Save every dollar, make investments. Can't surround yourself with bare silly friends. Watch Common Sense with Matthew. Facebook, Instagram, plus YouTube. Get some Lucozade and link with your crew. Money conversations is what we do. Gosh. Common sense. You can't be a dunstug, you gotta get sense. Save every dollar, make investments. Can't surround yourself with bare silly friends. Watch Common Sense with Matthew. Facebook, Instagram, plus YouTube. Get some Lucozade and link with your crew. Money conversations is what we do.
It's a beautiful Thursday night in downtown Georgetown, and we're here for another amazing episode of Common Sense. And tonight I'm featuring some amazing women. And we're going to be tackling the theme, women and money. Last week we had a phenomenal session with the men, and I'm pretty sure that the women want to respond to some of the comments and statements made last week, and we're giving them the platform to do exactly that. This is going to be the final show in this series, where we started over 3 weeks ago on relationships, marriage. Then we had the men, and now we're closing it with the women. They say you save the best for last. Hence why the women are coming on last. But before we get into the show, I think it would be very bad of me not to acknowledge the fact that the producer, our technical guy, recently got engaged. And for all the ladies watching, I'm asking you to please leave him alone. He's engaged now. And set your eyes on somebody else, right? But we want to wish Lanzo and his fiancé a wonderful engagement and soon to be newlyweds. All right, so like the page, share the page, Georgetown Capital Common Sense on YouTube, send it to your friends and family, and rock and come in, grab your Lucozade, grab your friends, and sit down and enjoy some amazing conversations with some beautiful women. And as you can see, I'm sipping some wine from Panjaz in Color Cup. And I want to shout out Panjaz. The COVID restrictions are lifted and we'll be having Panjaz very, very soon. And it's going to be amazing. So you can already start budgeting in your financial statements to ensure that you have money to buy the tickets for Panjaz for you and for your significant other. But we're now ready to actually get into the conversation tonight. You guys would have already heard about the women on the panel, and we're going to give each of them an opportunity now to share a bit about their life growing up, particularly surrounding their finances and their family and so forth. And we're going to start the ball on my right with my very dear friend who also recently got a child. Is it a boy or a girl? A girl, a beautiful little girl. Congratulations on that. What was your financial situation like growing up?
Okay, so growing up, I came from a single parent household, my mom and my 2 sisters. And I would say I didn't know that we were not rich until around secondary school. We were comfortable. I wouldn't say extremely rich, but a lot of my needs and I would say wants, I got the things that, I want this bicycle, I want this, I want that. It was available to me, so I had a little bit more than just my basic needs met. So I believed I was rich, and my wake-up call came when I got a little older in secondary school.
What exactly happened that woke you up?
I would say independence, a little bit more independence taught me, or being around a different crowd taught me that, yeah, you're not rich. Your mother's making this happen, She only is providing to some extra extent, but you're not rich.
Nateshia?
I became really money aware when I was in, I think, grade 6. My mother was the type of person who always stuck her neck out and made sure she provided. Although I did grow up with both parents, my mother was the main breadwinner in that situation for a long while. And I remember being in school because I went to Mays Primary, right? So everybody in my community where I lived kind of thought I was rich because nobody was really going to private school then unless they had some sort of money. But I wasn't. But my mother made it happen, and I went, and I had all of these friends, and my mother made sure I just was accustomed to everything. So anytime I went over my friends and so on, I always seemed to know stuff and be aware of things. But then I had somebody in my grade 6 class, after I wrote common entrance at that time, tell me that I only was liming with the friends I was liming with because they were rich and I was poor. And I didn't quite understand that. So I think I went home and had a really awkward conversation with my mother. And we really spoke about a lot of things that I don't think I wanted to hear at 11 years old. But then I realized, yeah, you're too rich. You know, my mother was a teacher. And she made sure I had everything. Because I had like a lot of weird health things happening as a child. But she made sure I always was taken care of. And she would always tell me, you know, regardless of what, make sure you got something for yourself at all times. So I think that's something I kind of ran with for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Beautiful. Dominique?
I think I really got aware after I left high school and I began working, going to school, funding my own tuition, and then everything just went because I went to New Ghana. This is what, daycare, nursery school, then New Ghana Primary. Then I went into the Bishop's High School as secondary, and I was still comfortable. My mother made everything happen, regardless of what I had to get done. It happened. I just knew it happened. And as an only child and as a girl, everybody feels, oh, you're so spoiled. And I'm like, no. Everything I have, I had to work for it in some sense. It wasn't just given, but I would say that I am selfish. I'm not gonna lie. Because, you know, people with siblings, even if they don't get it, the sibling gets it. For me, if it comes in the house, it's mine, regardless. So when I finished high school and I began working, and then I realized, okay, so budgeting is a thing because now I have to pay my tuition, I have to pay my bills, and mom is no longer there to brace me in that sense because now I'm living alone. Everything is on me, and I still have to figure out everything at the end of the day.
So far, we've already heard about 3 situations where the woman sort of was the main breadwinner. So you're already seeing the power of women in terms of providing for their families. Lyndell, can you share a bit about your situation?
Sure. Well, my upbringing, I was the first child. And as a first child, I think you become more aware of so many things. I realized the matriarch of my family was my grandmother. Although I lived with my mom and I was a product of a stepfather type relationship, but my grandmother was always there and she was always very instrumental in my life. So she would tell me and we would talk about things that maybe she wouldn't, or a person wouldn't talk to a child about. So I was aware of the fact that we were a very hardworking family. We were not rich, but we were very aware of the need for quality in our lives. So my siblings, they never felt that we were poor or we didn't have money, but I knew that we made a lot with what little we had. And I remember at 18 years, my sister coming home with a serious tantrum that she found out that we were poor. I mean, it was amazing to see this. And that tells you about how much we looked at quality. My grandmother used to say, class has nothing to do with money. And it is the truth. And as I get older, I keep on seeing that. So we were that family on the street that people felt had. That's because we never complained and we never shared. Up to now, I'm very private about my own personal life.
Okay.
So it's because of that. But yes, I was just an ordinary girl.
Rowena?
I think I'm very similar to the ladies at the beginning as well, where, you know, the family, well, I grew up with both mother and father, and growing up, I got a sense after going to school, like I think maybe more primary school as well into secondary school, where you know you're not rich, you're not well off in any way, but you're very comfortable in that things were provided, you had a little bit for the social, you know, my parents were quite protective, so even like a little school fair, it was very, you know, can I go? But then when you get the chance to go, there was always a little pocket money, and I think one of the ladies said earlier, high school I think is when it really hit, because then there was something called allowance, and I'm like, what is allowance? I carried it to school lunch, and if I didn't, then I would get a little money to buy lunch, and I'm like, oh, so you get money spent for the week? So like, you know, that's where I also became aware, but it's not a case where I wanted something and I couldn't get it. If it's something outside of the usual, then, you know, it was explained to me that, okay, you can't get that now, but we'll work on that. So it's very similar, where of course, you know, both mother and father there, but like you often see your mother working extra in some ways. So that was also, for me, my dad, he did a lot of the, he would take us to school and pick us up and things like that. But as it relates to seeing that extra push, it was definitely you go to your mom for things that you wanted.
Jenel?
Yeah, so my upbringing, I'd say that I feel like from the time I became aware of who I was as a person or as a young girl, I felt a great sense of responsibility because we grew up with our grandmother. I have 3 younger siblings and 1 older. And for some reason, I felt this great sense of responsibility for the 3 younger ones because the environment was not very structured. There were not many rules. So my grandmother, we had a small shop, and she'd be selling most of the day. So my sister and I, we have very different personalities. So for some reason, I became like the second mom. So it was a lot of responsibility from a young age. So also from a young age, I felt a great sense of independence because I felt like, you know, like I had to do so much. And then when I became even more aware, I realized that as much as she was making the day-to-day ends meet, we weren't really, you know, well off. And so I felt like I had to take that responsibility upon myself to get a job at a very early age, whatever I could do part-time or on the side, in between school or after school, holidays, to make some extra money. And then that money would go back into buying stuff for me to go to school and for my brothers. So I'd say that we weren't financially literate at all back then. Like I didn't see that, I didn't learn that until I became an adult. So when I realized what was happening, I remember feeling like, you know, like we didn't have so much, like the basic things. So I'd say like I had the basic needs met for survival, but not anything much that I wanted until I became older and started to work.
Excellent. And I think it's very important that each of us interrogate ourselves, examine ourselves, and find out from ourselves what we were taught, or whether consciously or subconsciously, about money and finance as children. Because if you look at yourself as an adult, a young adult, most of those same habits you learned during your childhood, you still exhibit them, whether you're conscious about it or not, you still exhibit them in your adult and young adult phase, and it can be positive or negative, depending on what you were taught during your childhood. So that's why I always like to hear about, you know, where people came from and how they grew up and so forth, because it sort of guides how they channel their money and how they spend it and how they manage it. Now, media, movies, music, magazines, everything perpetuates certain stereotypes about women. And one of the most popular stereotypes about women concerning money, and this is where I really want to get into the conversation, is that women are splurgers. Women love to spend. Women are quote unquote reckless and impulsive spenders. These are not my opinions, right? These are the stereotypes that are out there about women. So don't come at me, right? I want you guys as women to respond to that stereotype. Is there any truth or is it total hogwash that women don't have the capacity or the capability to manage their money and to spend it in a wise manner?
Anyone?
Anyone?
Okay. Yeah, because we just sat here and listened to what 5 out of the 6 women talked about being raised by women. I mean, in my household, I saw my grandmother, then my aunt, no father or anything. And even when you listen to them, I feel like women are more capable of saving and spending money wisely than men. Like, I didn't know that was a stereotype you just talked about, because when you were saying it, I was like, I thought that was men. Like, women are very careful, we're very smart, and I feel like we're very
frugal?
Yes. When we're spending our own money.
More money.
Our own money. I mean, if someone is giving you money to splurge and you want to splurge, then yeah. But even then, I feel like we have a greater sense of responsibility when it comes to like the stuff that we get ourselves or what we get for other people or kids or so on. And I just feel like we're more responsible, you know? Like we're more like set on what and focus on what we want and what we don't want.
I think a lot of that is because we were kind of forced to be. I think yes, naturally, over time, women have had to fit into those roles. But I do think that obviously over time, as women have had to be main caregivers and breadwinners and everything, they've had to develop a better sense of financial literacy, a better sense of responsibility. So you pass that on to your daughters and their children, and then it ends up being, at this stage, almost every woman you know is going to be very, very responsible with their own money because they have no other choice. And because it's just the smartest thing to do. It's your money, you have to make the best use of it. Nobody's going to take care of you, so to speak, because even that is really controversial. I can't ask you to take care of you, but you can't it's all over the place. So in order to be, I guess, this quote unquote modern woman that the magazines are also now throwing out there, you know, you have to be this independent boss, this, that, the other, you have to obviously know how to manage your money the absolute best way and provide for yourself and the family, because the girls know what the girls want. So,
even in terms of like not being the modern woman, if you look back at, my mom, she was not financially literate, and now I know that by having conversations with her. But she made it happen. And how did she do that? It was her money. She had to manage that money. She had 3 kids, and she had to be able to be doing something right so that we can live the life and the quality of life that we live. So I can't agree with that stereotype. And I mean, I manage my money and my husband's money. And that's like, you know, I mean, I think I do a pretty good job.
You do.
I think I do a pretty good job at where this money should go, where that money should go, and, you know, investments. Oh, in terms of investments, men, no. And like spending, a man might spend something on more of a impulsive one than a woman. He might go buy the PS5 as soon as it comes out.
Yeah.
And I might say, no, we can't afford that just yet.
You won't buy the Chanel bag.
No, I might buy the Chanel bag, but I'm gonna wait for the sale.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
Well, my take on this is, going back to Matthew's first question. Tell us about your childhood, because one of the things that I've found is, as you move from a childhood of maybe not having every single thing you want to a time where we now have a job, we are independent. Ladies, let's face it, you know how you splurged. When we started, I was like that. So I had a dress room and a bedroom, because I make my own money, that kind of thing. But today, looking back on that, if I had to cost that time and that amount of money that went into that, it would be a lot of money. So over time, as we mature, there are things that we think to ourselves, okay, that's not necessary. I don't need the Chanel bag now. I probably will wait for the sale. So maturity has caused us to look differently at how we spend the money. And then a lot of us are parts of extended families. So you have to now take care of your grandaunt or your grandmother, your siblings, like Jenel and I spoke about. You feel like you need to assist. So over time now, these things become less and less, to where you get to a person like me now who's just thinking, I think I can look at Mark Zuckerberg and get some t-shirts every day, same color. I'm going into this kind of minimalist kind of lifestyle, right? But over time, I think we mature into it, and our own responsibilities cause us to think differently. Whereas, you know how the men are, right? It's a guy. He don't really do all of that. He doesn't go through that. He wants that PS.
Gets it.
And he just gets it, It's like, I remember one time a lady saying to me, she gave her husband some money to go and do some shopping, and he came home with a keyboard. So she said, well, where's the, because I think it's a good idea. Here goes the groceries for the month. So that's my own take on this one.
I totally agree, because when you look at the difference between a woman and a man shopping for groceries, we will go to the market, and we can, go to the stands and suss out, and a man will go to a supermarket. And the in terms of the vegetables at the supermarket, of course, it's a less quantity for more. It's well packaged. They're like, I don't need to cut this off because this is already cut off. We're gonna go to the stand in the market and get what we need to get, deal with it at the moment. And so the amount of money you'll spend in a supermarket is way more when you have to take into account the meat and all of these different things. So that in itself, and that's just one part of the shopping, so to speak. And that to me goes full circle on the idea of we kind of like manage a little bit better as it relates to making the decisions as to how we do things, especially financially.
Because I think women think long term. Men just think, no. If I see it, no. And I want it, no. I'll get it, no. Because I remember when my uncle used to live with my mom and I when I was smaller. When he first started working, I think that's when Timberland was a really big thing. He just started working and he wanted a pair of Timberland. And he took his entire salary and bought Timberland. So mom asked him what happens for groceries. He said, we figured out when the time reached. Because he got what he wanted. So,
and I want to jump in on Dominique's point. I think a lot of it also has to do with how men are generally raised, and I don't want anybody attacking me. I did say generally, because a lot of boys sometimes are sheltered from those realities, and their mothers look after them very well. So all they know, mommy bringing things happening. When money come, money's go, and all they know, money keep coming. And so a lot of times, obviously there are always exceptions where, especially if it's a one child or something, your mother might be real with you and say, this we got to work for X, Y, and Z. But a lot of guys, I think it takes sometimes growing up, maturity, dating, realizing, hey, I want to marry this girl and I can't afford to marry this girl. So now how do I save to afford a ring, a wedding, a child, a house, how I'm driving this girl around and all of these things. I think maybe a lot of people really catch the self when they have men, especially when they have those types of responsibilities.
They don't have a choice anymore.
And I think women are allowed to splurge a little bit because I think that women have this type of mentality. If I need to live this type of lifestyle, I need to do this, this, and this. So I can't just sit in my job and make money there alone. I need to get a side gig. I need to get something else. I need to do a little influencer marketing. Something else to bring in that money because I want to live this quality lifestyle. A man whereby would want to live the quality lifestyle, but he's just gonna work because he wants the rest of the time to watch TV, to watch basketball, and he's not looking for that extra means to be able to live that lifestyle. So rightfully, you can't splurge.
Indeed. And mommy will still cook that food with him wearing his Timberlands. She will never ever say no food today because you eat the Timberlands.
He's gonna believe
Mommy,
you were making it work.
Exactly.
You were making it work without my salary, so my
That's
Timberlands will affect you.
Excellent points raised by the women. That stereotype is actually, it's nonsense. Statistically, it's been proven to be false. A study was done in 2018 and actually proved that women are better managers of money than men. They save more than men. But where the issue comes is women are more risk averse in terms of investment. So the statistics prove that, the women, they have a lot in their savings, but they're not using that savings to make more money in terms of investing in a business or in the stock market or whatever, because the perception is women don't really have time with that, right? How would you guys respond to that aspect now in terms of investment? Because I know a few of you have businesses, which is an investment. Are women less risk takers? Are women less or more risk averse? And are you interested in investment?
Women are, I would say that women are generally more careful with what they choose to invest in. They might take a longer time, do a lot more thinking and a lot more researching. Whereas whereas a man would jump on something like, okay, I heard this idea, I think it's a good idea. My gut says go and I'll go. But things and times are changing. And as you said, that study was done in 2018. We're now in 2022. COVID brought a lot of eye opening to women because women now see that, okay, look what happened, and I have this money saved up, but I can't do anything at the moment. So let me try and invest it in this business. What could be the worst thing? We probably might die.
None of us can go.
And that was our thought process probably in 2020, and so it freed up our minds a little bit and we took the risk. And so now that a lot of women saw women and what they were doing at that time, a lot more research and a lot more risks have been taken. A lot more women are investing into things. They're investing into the stock market, where before the stock market was like a man thing. You would find women doing foreign exchange trading, leading in places where they didn't previously lead. So I think maybe things and times really did change, and now that view might have shifted a bit.
I agree with her that things have definitely evolved, especially since the pandemic. But I think another thing is that a lot of women tend to go with businesses or investments that they're either more passionate about generally. So in my opinion, this is not backed by any kind of research at all, but in my opinion, I think those businesses are more likely to succeed once you're really passionate about it. It might take a longer time. You can be Googling and YouTube and all the millions of people and all of the funny marketing and all of the stuff about it, because you want to be really sure. And especially because you save your money, you work really hard for your money, you want your money. So I think, yes, we are more risk averse, but I think that is not necessarily a bad thing. The whole delayed, not denied thing, because I might take 5 years to start my business, but I know in that 5 years I'm looking for funding. I'm on YouTube all the time and on Quora and every other dark, creepy side of the internet trying to figure out how can I make this work without putting my family in financial pressure, without not being able to pay back my mortgage or something. How do I make this absolutely work? I see women, as Earlecia was saying, really, honestly, people are having these conversations on every social media I'm on. They're trying to figure out, how do I get into the whole stock exchange thing? How do I get into Gassy? How do I do anything? How do I make more money? How do I make sure my family lives a better life? I live a better life. My children live a better life. How do I do all of that? So I think we're doing a lot more learning. We're being a lot more intentional with everything. And we're really pushing. Look at all the people during the pandemic. The amount of places that have opened since this pandemic has started, and so many of them are women-led and women-owned. And it's been 2 years, and they're still active and growing, and people are, opening little spaces and opening a little shop front and everything else. So obviously something is working. So
yeah, I think on that, leading upon that, though, the problem with the risk averseness, I think it goes back to confidence, and just generally, it's always been with certain things, women across the board. You're gonna have the standout person who will have confidence, and that's not really. Actually, no. I think you'll find where most women they doubt themselves. Then it's self-doubt. Where should I go ahead and start the business? What will happen? What will happen to me looking after home? What will happen with if I have an 9-to-5? What will happen there? So it's a lot of the self-doubt. Because I've been listening, well, this was a while ago. I think Juanita had a program where she aired it once a week, and she had women talking about their experiences. And so at least 2 or 3 of those women came on and say, I should have gone ahead with the idea when I thought about it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, rather than wait. And they all said, I kind of had that bit of self-doubt. So that's where it also comes from. I think the way that we take a little while to invest, and even investing in ourselves, we know the idea is it's going to run, it's going to be good, I just need to apply. But then what happens? We always think about the what if. Sometimes we do need to throw that aside. Even I've done that. I do it. So we need to be conscious about, what if will happen. It will always happen. We have to cater for that. And like we said with the pandemic, the ladies mentioned, it kind of forced us, because then a lot of women were also forced to stay at home, had to leave their jobs to stay at home because the kids are homeschooling. So, who am I sending them? So staying at home, you realize you're not cutting your income. So it's just one person that is now earning, and you're going to make things worse. So that's where I think a lot of the confidence and then the push, or the I have no other choice kind of thing, where let me start up this Instagram store, let me start up this thing virtually. A lot of people I met, I'm like, okay, do you have a physical location? No, it's virtual for now. But it's been working because you notice they're growing. So that's where it came from. And you're right, we've had so many persons bring up what it's passion, what is something they learned. I have a friend of mine that she somehow went into furniture making. She made me, herself and her husband, and she was spearheading it, and she made me a bookshelf. I was like, okay, you're doing this, got a bookshelf that I want. And I sent it to her, and they were able to do that for me. And that's something that they came up with during that time, so it's something that we really need to stop self-doubting. That's one thing.
I also, you think of women and how they accumulate wealth. It's most women you hear who has a bank, who have a bank account, that person would probably start from that $1 and watch it grow. Then they're in the environment where they hear women in business are lamenting all the time that their access to finance is one of their major issues. So here I have started from day one with my only dollar and put it in, and it has now reached $5 million. And you're saying to me, invest. And when I do invest to grow and scale the business, I will need access to finance, right? So where am I going? So the environment also has to be an enabler so that women will be able to make those decisions and make it strong. The men among us, when they are the decision makers in the household, they're the ones who probably earn higher than us, although they do the same work as us. right? They are also the ones who have access to finance. And so when I listen to my husband and his colleagues speak about business ideas, they almost already know where that money comes from, right? And if they go back to the household, it's just to tell the wife, I need $1 million. You know what I mean? So it's a different, it's really, a different, it's different to look at how women and men see investments. And like, I totally agree with you. These days, women are becoming more risk takers. And if I am not the usual one, I am a risk taker. I love business,
How?
Yes.
No, you go ahead.
Hearing all the stories, I actually have a personal testimony or story to share. So I was working in human resources for like 2.5 years. And when the pandemic hit, that 2020 was just like a really horrible year for me on all levels. And I had my small business that I was doing on the side for a few years that I was just doing it like on the weekends after work or whenever I had time. And at the end of 2020, the business started to pick up, and I was like thinking, contemplating, should I leave this job and go into this thing full time? But like Rowena was talking about, I was like, at least at the end of the month, I'm sure that my salary is going to cover my expenses. And I think, then I was thinking about buying a new car. So I'm like, so you add in an expense now. So it's like, it was such a risky move, but it was so worth it.
Wow.
It was so worth it. So I did it. I went into my business full time. And I can say that my business pays for everything now, which is something that I never thought would happen, doing handmade stuff. Yes. So,
what's the name of the business?
All Things Handmade. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram. All Things Handmade, GY on Instagram, All Things Handmade on Facebook. I'm Jenel Roberts, and you can find a number right there if you want to contact me. For your handmade, so we do corporate packages and handmade cards. Wow. So corporate gift packages.
And I know you have some other business women, so now is a good time to.
You should say, I'm glad that you gave me your testimony, Jenel, because I'm in a position where I just had a baby, as Matthew mentioned, and well, my husband works, but we work on a shift basis. So I don't know who is coming out of their house at 4:30 in the morning and after 10 p.m. in the night. My shifts don't cater to a daytime shift. And so I'm in a position now where I really have to make a decision on if my business will be able to sustain me. And I mean, I can see it, but there's that security thing.
Yeah.
Back to the risk averse. And it's like, I like my salary. It's safe. It's safe.
Yes. It's definitely getting out of that safe zone.
Average worker, I would say that it's a little bit more on the top scale, and if I can't be able to pay myself that and some more from my business, then
what's the point?
What should I be doing? But I'm in that stage where I might take that leap, and maybe sometime Matthew can give you guys an update.
well, like Matthew said, put in the plug. At Cerulean Inc., we work with small businesses to help them grow. We do small business mentorship, so we will help you.
Okay.
Yeah, so give us a shout.
If you're watching, Kaya Organic is my business. And now that you know I'll be a stay-at-home mom, I appreciate that support. We offer and provide handmade hair and skincare, wellness products for men, women, and children. And the intention is to grow and provide these products, provide education on self-care because it's very important to Guyana and internationally. So give us a...
I was going to say that I used your product when I was bathing before I came here. So really amazing product, right?
Nice. Use the shower gel.
Yeah. The blue, what is the blue thingy?
Yeah, I can smell you. I get to know where. So you can find The information is there. Our website is www.kairogx.com.
How do you spell Kair?
K-H-A-Y-R.
Okay, so I'm familiar with your page there. Okay, good to put a face to it.
Dominique?
Well, my business was actually birthed in the pandemic. And remember earlier I said I'm selfish, and I know that anything that comes, it just belongs to me. So I would say I'm a risk taker because I said in March of last year, I want this business. This is what I want to do. I want to launch it on the 1st of May because it's a holiday. Nobody has nothing to do. They don't have a choice. They gotta come. And the amount of things that happened between March and April, I was like, I'm not gonna pull this off. And I already have clients who are on board with the idea, who are ready to start, who already signed contracts, who are ready to pull it off. And I did not want to disappoint. And I pulled it off. Because I didn't have a choice. But saying that to say, persons or males in society give this perception that, oh, we're all for female empowerment. Even some women. And it's their social media persona. And then when it comes down to actually helping somebody, there's always some foolish excuse. Like it makes no sense, realistically. So why give this persona out there that you're all for bettering youth development and oh, you're a woman, so even better yet. And then when you actually reach out, either they disrespect you because you're a woman and they think you're an idiot. No offense, but it is true. Because they think you're not capable, especially when you're young. Because when I started business, I was 22, because I'm now 23. I'm still in school, I'm now finding myself. And I was like, okay, I'll get it done. And I got it done. My business is Omoyu. It's French for At the Hub. It's a pickup location, a pickup and shelving location that houses small businesses and medium or large businesses. If you're online or you're now, you want to expand your clientele reach, contact us. It's Omoyu on Instagram and Facebook. And we provide, I would say, one of the best packages on there for your small business. Yes.
Nice.
You could ask Matthew himself. Yeah.
Common Sense jerseys, you can pick them up at Omoyu. Now, Dominique brought out a really powerful point at the end there about some of the challenges women face in business and in life generally. She spoke about how some persons have dual personalities in the sense they say they are for women empowerment and all these nice stuff online, but when the rubber hits the road, it's a whole different situation. And one thing I've also noticed, particularly among men in the corporate world who have influential positions, when it comes to assisting women, there's always something they want in return. And I want to go there because there's something.
I agree.
There's something very important that we need to address. What are some of the challenges and experiences that women would commonly face in terms of starting up a business? And also for those who are not business women, but those in the corporate world who may not be interested in owning a business, because everybody can't be an entrepreneur.
That's it.
Some persons have a passion for their jobs or whatever it is. Going up the corporate ladder, it's difficult for them unless they do X, Y, or Z, which they ought not to have to do to advance if they have the qualifications and the necessary experience. Can you share a bit about some of the experiences and the challenges that women face? And I think you're the perfect person to start.
You're asking me first. Okay. So everybody knows me to be very outspoken. If I don't like it, I'm just going to say, look, this is not right. I don't like it, and I'm not comfortable with it. So this is what I'm going to do about this situation. So I don't think many men like that, right, in a person. And so I have gotten into situations where I've gone to promote my business or to talk to a man about my business. And then he starts looking down my shirt, or he starts to, oh yes, babe. And I say, look, don't call me babe. I didn't come here for that. I came here because I wanted to promote my business. Oh, well, you and I can't speak. I say, well, that is exactly what I was thinking. And so I walk out because I don't think that I need that. However, there are those ladies among us who might not be able to stand and address this issue straight to the gentleman's face. And what happens, we all know the consequences of that. What I want to always ensure that women know, that you do not use your body or your looks for what comes out of your head, right? There are too many times that women are expected to have this kind of personality of submissiveness. If you are a Christian, the Bible says women submit to their husbands. If you choose to do that, then you do that because you are a Christian. But there's nothing that says that you have to be submissive to any man. And that is the issues that I tend to be facing all of the time. I feel like sometimes because then, gentlemen know that I will not stand up and agree with everything you say, then obviously there are some who's just not going to be looking at me in the face. Some of them will almost speak over me. But we also need to know as ladies how to address these issues. So for me, I would say to them, if you will just allow me, and I sit quietly and ask him to allow me. And if he doesn't, I said, I just ask you to allow me, right? Because what happens is you then become almost irrelevant in their minds. And so that also is oppressing women. And some of the very same men who talk and say that they are empowering women are guilty of that behavior. And so we as women have to know what are some of the words that you use, and sometimes how to walk out. Because we are not here begging. What we are doing is speaking to you like a man would speak to you. Because we are running businesses like you. So I have had countless experiences with it, to the point right now where I say to other women like myself, if you are scared to speak your mind, you will still be scared. You will still be afraid because you will sit there quietly and scared. I'd rather speak and still be scared. It's all right. It's cool. You understand? But I said what I said. And that's important because these are the things when in the women's chamber, we talk about having a voice for the voiceless. Because too many of our women who walk around talking strong, looking strong, do not stand up and say. And you have to get to a point as a woman when you say, if you don't get the support, it's okay. But I have made my point. Yes. Right? And this is what it is. If it's wrong, you have to be strong enough and not afraid enough to be the only one speaking your truth. And that is what I say. At least to my mentees, I say that, and I see them coming out really strong.
I want to piggyback off of some of what you said, because I do a thing on the side. It's not as regular and it's not as client facing and people facing. Right. It's more related to government contracts and small contracts and those types of things. I remember when I was first getting started, nobody would take me seriously because my father helped me, set it up because he knew some people who were doing it. And I went and I tried to introduce myself and literally nobody looked at me. Wow. And I'm a person, I like to take up space. I talk now when I loud and I'm always there. So it's not that I was a mouse in a corner. I was trying to take up that space, but nobody was really listening because there's this young girl who walks into a ministry, into an engineering department. You come in to see somebody, you don't come in to do actual work. So I had a really hard time, getting somebody to take me seriously. Another serious issue is that I don't go and knock bottles with the boys, right? So a lot of people may get into certain spaces because of those outside of their professional relationships. And it's not always safe for me as a woman to do so. It's not always something I want to do. I don't always want to have to go and knock beers with the boys and play dominoes with the boys and go over by the boys in order for me to be taken seriously in that world. So it's been an actual struggle, having to show up often, over and over again, having to call more often than men would, having to go and obviously there's intersections to everything. So I'm young and a woman, so that just makes it a lot worse. And I have seen a lot of times all the women who are even older and they're having to struggle and literally raise their voices and scream and go on. It's like, God, get this, and God, get out. Grabbing things that are otherwise given very easily to men, that are handed off to other men very easily. Because even in these times when people are talking about women getting into all of these different businesses and different fields and so on, a lot of people are still not taking that seriously. If I want to go do contract work, why do you assume, because almost no contractor is doing the work themselves, why do you assume that I can't manage a team or lead a team of people in the way somebody else does? Why is there an assumption that I don't know plumbers, I don't know weeders, I don't know carpenters, but you do, but a man does? And I am betting you, my brother who has zero interest in this type of work, if I were to send him, there would be an entirely different response. And I can't say it's not fair. It is what it is. That's what we're living with. But it is a challenge, and I see women are trying really hard to get around it, but it's still a really huge issue to maneuver around.
I'll jump right off of your point, Nateshia. You said you won't say it's not fair because that's the world we live in. And being in business I've only been in business for 2 years. But in that time, thankfully, I've been able to go into certain spaces among certain types of people. A lot of that being wealthy business men and women. And at some point before, I would always try to, maybe you would want to access funding and da-da-da. And for majority of that, you have to face a wealthy businessman, right? And before then, it used to stress me out because when I approach you and I say, okay, so what's your business? Handmade hair and skincare. And they're like, everybody doing that next. So they don't take that seriously. They don't see, I don't want to say they don't see the potential. They know the potential, and they know that cosmetic industry has been growing vastly over the past 2 years, but you're doing it. You're small. You're a woman. You don't know the first thing going on here. And it would have put me in a place where I was thinking, no, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not my, But I became a little bit more accepting, and I would try to advise other young girls and women who approach me for advice. You don't have to have a man. And where we do have women who are just preaching women empowerment, we have women who embody women empowerment. And we do have that in the business field. And I've met so many of them. As I would have told you before we came on camera, I follow you on LinkedIn. And you're one of those women you might not know, but I use a lot of what you preach or what you put out there to empower myself. And in doing so, I kind of like put away or shy away from this idea of wanting to fit into the men's world. This is a woman's world. So in our world, I make it work for me. And we can make it work for ourselves. And women empowerment is now universal. It's not like something you have to fight for. We have that community. So use it. And we gotta, as women, we gotta be more conscious and more intentional about our community and supporting our women, because these are struggles that some women face, and they would not being able to stand up and say, well, I'll use what I have, use the resources I have, they kind of drop out to the race. And you don't want that. You want a community where women can say, we don't need men to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm not a feminist, right? I'm not a feminist. So I'll say that there are things that men head that we need them to head to work, right? But we don't need them to succeed in our endeavors, right? We don't need them for validation. We don't need them for funding. We have rich, wealthy women who see your potential and who can mentor you to use that funding when you have the access to it. So we have women in the banks. The loan officers are always, most times, women. So use that negotiating skill. Use that womanhood and push yourselves. We don't need to always have men to validate.
Just a quick thing before anybody jump in. I just wanted to give a quick story about a young lady that is one of our clients who does cosmetic, similar to you, but all natural products. So she went in to speak with a gentleman who she was asking for some funding. Whilst he was saying, oh, everybody's doing that, she says to me, she's looking behind him and he's selling all those funny looking chemical ridden cosmetics. So she says to him, you're selling a bunch of rubbish. And so I said, you didn't tell the man that. And she says, yes, I had to tell him. Because, so then long and short of the whole story is that he ended up funding her, by the way, right? But what it is that he told her, he said, how brave you were to just say to me, and sometimes as women, we need to call it what it is.
Yes.
You know, that you selling all these chemical-ridden products, I'm coming to you with something natural, something that's actually good enough. Yes, understand your product, know it well, and be willing to sell it. You know, so sometimes you have to take that step and that leap of faith, you know. I just wanted to give that story on.
For the men that still washing their hair with Irish.
Featuring one head and shoulders.
And head and shoulders.
Exactly. So, go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say that's why the theme this year, Break the Bias, was so important, because I personally get very upset when I experience stuff like that, where you hold women at a different expectation, or you don't take us too seriously, and when your support comes, it comes so fragile. But I have to say, as much as I've experienced that, I've also experienced men who genuinely help and support. Right? So I know we sat here and we talked a lot about it. That is very real. It's there. Trust me. Every other person, every day, you deal with that. And the thing is, like, I'm really glad that I'm here hearing this, because sometimes you feel a bit timid, and also you don't want to be offensive. It's like you're thinking about your business, and it's like, should I just say this? Should I wait? Like, when is the appropriate time to tell this person, you know, this is inappropriate, I don't like this. But what I would like when we think about the challenges we encounter as small businesses or women in business, is that you just take us seriously, you know, because it starts with us taking ourselves seriously. And then when we go there to sell our product, it's like, you know, I mean business. I'm selling an item, I'm selling a service, I'm selling my business. And I don't know why it's so hard for them. Well, some, not all, some, to look at you as a woman and just decide, you know what, this is a woman in business, I just want to support her. I don't need anything in return. I don't need absolutely anything. But I have, like, a few weeks ago, and also not just the corporate world, but like bigger or more established businesses. A few weeks ago when we had, well, in February, when I was preparing my Valentine's Day line, I have an online store, but not a physical location as yet. And I wanted to do some pop-up shops. I went around to different businesses asking if I could just get a space for maybe a few hours to just, you know, a table or shelf, anything, so I could display my cards. Most of them were asking me, how much am I willing to pay? I mean, which I was, right? But it was just such a business transaction. You know, you want a space here, you come, you want thing. But I met one business, and it was a male, very kind, very polite, very respectful, without no hesitation, just said, it's fine. Even gave up a piece of, actually it's Oasis Cafe. So props props to them, right? Gave up a table in the cafe for me to set up my cards, give me the space for a shelf. I saw customers come to the door and left, but they just felt like it was more important for me in this day to support this small business or to support this girl than it was for my business. And I felt so grateful for that opportunity. I mean, they probably didn't see it as like how I saw it, but for me it was everything. The fact that they took that chance with me, one, and the fact that they believed in the products that I showed them, and the fact that they were just so welcoming and warm about the entire initiative, posted me on their social media page and the business, like the full works. So I just wanted to say that there are men out there that are genuinely interested in helping, that are looking for nothing in return.
It's not an enabling environment. And so a lot of times you, going back to just on the corporate bit, because I'm not a business owner, you find where you try to stand up or you try to speak out against certain things, of course, that you come across, but then after that you're then, I guess, in a way punished, because then you don't have the access or you don't get that promotion. I don't put in that word for you because you didn't put out, so to speak. And then, they're going to be like, oh, well, then you're not serious because they got other people that could do that. I'm like, so that's how you see women, as an object. And just going off of an experience of a friend of mine, she shared with me, a company, what she does, she has a professional career that she is, what her main profession. But she also has a business as well. And so somebody was basically like talking to her on the professional career, that what she studied. And they chimed in, they started off with a bit of a, what do you do and how has that journey been? And then throwing but you're so beautiful for that kind of mind.
Right.
Well, I'm not supposed to be cute and smart. Right. So that's like, that things like that, and I don't think they understand it, that it's very demeaning and very disrespectful for you to say something like, when you're cute you're supposed to be dumb, or
they do this little thing, you're so young and working so hard, like
okay. So those things and so for those little things, that it's snide comments to me that make you feel like a little bit, and then some people wouldn't have the voice, as you said, a little timid to like, stop it in the tracks. And then that in itself, because you didn't kind of stop it, becomes enabling, and then they throw another, and then they throw another, and then they keep throwing a ball, and then it ends up being something that is out of control. And sometimes it's not meant to be, but it's just that we're too scared to say something. So we just need to be very conscious. I mean, business owners, women coming up, women in the boardroom, so to speak, you have to be able to find that voice. I myself, it took a while for me to be able to speak. I always talk in my head. I always get my face. But to say it, sometimes it's very conscious. I'd be like, so that you can kind of like see it without me saying it, because a lot of times also when I say things, in the past, now I kind of get better, as in it comes across bad or disrespectful, and you don't want that, but you also just want to be stern and to say it respectfully, unless they become disrespectful, and then you kind of, to me, I will return that. But you want to be able to be taken seriously, so you don't react in that way. You react in a very respectful manner, and you say what you have to say, so that they get the point. You don't want to listen. You're enabling a very bad environment, and not because somebody else. You're taking advantage of somebody else who can't speak up. It's pretty, and that's a bad culture.
There is also, ladies, another thing, and Matthew, that I also want to caution against. It is something that I find with a lot of women-led businesses. If I'm going into a business environment and I'm going to ask, okay, if I walk into Regis because I want to talk to Rowena about setting up something here or whatever, I am coming here with a mindset to do business. And when you are doing that, you do that with a mindset to want to pay. And I have, because of the business that I'm in, I am in corporate training and business consulting. Many people come to you wanting you to help them as a small business, but not with a mindset to pay. And this is something that I keep saying to a lot of small businesses, especially women, that when business happens, there's an exchange of information at a price, an exchange of product at a price. And so when we go to men, it's also important that you are portraying that same type of business acumen. It's very important because that somehow causes those who are not of the right ilk to say the wrong things to us, you know, and that is important. Where we in even in the chamber and in my business, I say men and women in partnership for development. And if you are partnering, you are looking for an exchange, you know?
All right, so Common Sense, we're coming live from Regus, and we're just having a very wonderful conversation with our women. And we want to shift the conversation a bit from business. I want to tackle one quick question about finance, and then we begin to wrap up the program. I want to hear about some experiences that you guys have had in terms of some mistakes that you would have made, whether in your business or financially, because I think for young women watching, it's very important for them to know that from time to time we mess up. And this is one thing that I personally hate with a lot of financial advisors. They beat you down in a sense, like if you use coffee every day, you're gonna be poor. If you have a Netflix account and Starbucks, and I really hate that line of financial advice because cutting back on Netflix is not really going to make me rich. Not drinking coffee every day is not going to make me rich, right? But from time to time, even when we set up a budget, I have a friend that I'm sort of her financial coach, and whenever she makes a mistake with her budget or spends more than she ought to, or more than she budgeted for, it's a whole emotional breakdown, you know. Like, I'm done with budgeting for now. I don't have any time with this. And I try to explain to her that from some months you're going to go above.
Yeah.
Once you recognize, you know where you went wrong, you can always pull yourself back up. But I think it's very important that persons know that in life you make mistakes. So if you have any of those experiences, now is a good time to share some.
I have this one where I've generally always been a big saver or good saver in my head. But in the last couple of months, I've had a lot of adult expenses, very annoying. And they've thrown me off my budgeting a bit. And I literally sat there and beat myself up for a couple of days. And in that beating up, I went out and spent more money. So it just went from bad to worse to worse. And it's just like, it did not work out. But it brought me back to a place where I had to realize that budgeting is a guideline, and that life is not static. Life evolves, things will change, circumstances change, and your budget, at least my budget, has to give me room and the opportunities and the chance to fall off, pick up. Some months I can save more, some months I might have a necessary expense that might, so it's not like, if I don't save $100 every week, I'm gonna die because sometimes I might have a birthday or I just really want to celebrate something or I want to buy something nice. I work really hard. I had a really rough February and I feel like this is a good time for me to spend a little more and really enjoy myself. So I think sometimes you must allow yourself, you work really hard on all the investing and saving and doing all the really hard grinding stuff. Sometimes you gotta let yourself live. It's only one of these you got. There's only one of these lives you got. Sometimes you just need to breathe and let yourself live, and that's my piece.
For me, and I advise strongly against this. The Instagram, social media, go get it, hustler, girl boss lifestyle. It can build you or it can break you. And one of my biggest mistakes, and I would tell anybody, just got a job or just started to make some money for themselves, telling me that I want to buy a car. No. Do not go, unless you have a savings. A car is a liability, and it's a liability I'm paying still, and I've been working for almost 5 years. So I don't advise that persons try to rush themselves, especially if you're young. I got my first car at 20, and I had no business having my first car unless I was,
financially stable.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes I tell myself, you don't have to be the most stable person financially to get luxuries, but don't go drowning yourself in certain things if you know that you can't be able to sustain that lifestyle. Have some type of ground first before you go investing in these kinds of things, because it can lead you into years and years of having to pick up the mess that you made at the beginning there.
I don't think anybody will be buying cars right now at these gas prices.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Get out your bicycle.
You know what's funny that you would say that is that when I was buying my car, because I had a car before and I was getting a new one, someone told me that getting it was a liability, but I knew that the business that I do, it's like almost impossible for me to do it without a car, because the money that I'd be spending on taxi, I mean, with the car I have the convenience. Like every time someone comes into my car for the first time, they just look in the back. I was like, don't look in the back. This car is a work car. This car is a work car, and that's what I do with it every single day. Because I'm meeting clients, because I work from home, so I'm meeting my clients in like wherever they are. I'm transporting the packages, transporting items. When I'm buying stuff in town, I'm buying it in bulk. So like I need it, and I'm like in out all day, every day. So I guess with something like that, it's like that's when you need to know, like when you take a risk or when you take a leap of faith. It just so happened for me that it worked out. And the business really picked up, but I understand what you're saying, because had it not,
I hope that your business is financing those gas bills.
Had it not, well, my business is financing everything, because I ain't not getting income anywhere else. So yeah.
For me, I'd probably like to address a bad investment, because you actually ask about personal and all. So you know something go wrong and you can't even talk about it. And I was stunned for like 2 years. I'm not joking. Yeah. So you know, when I was a hotshot new young business mogul, I called myself that. I decided that I was going to invest in a project in St. Lucia. I was living in Ghana already, and I took some. I think it must have been almost like $40,000 US. And I made a very bad investment.
That would have still been like a cool 5 years.
Two. I could not. I kid you not. I could not address it.
Yeah.
Every time I thought of it, it's just like, okay, probably I should just let me go and sit at Pegasus and have have a juice, because I don't have a juice. But anyway, this investment happened among people I knew, and nothing like when you believe that because people know you that they're going to support you. I learned that the hard way. So sometimes you see a business thriving or you see somebody doing well and they always tell you the glory. The story is like the hardest thing, right? When I employed a marketing company, they did the marketing, and I found myself literally on the spot marketing to people, and the marketers were having drinks and having a good time. I mean, it was everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, right? And my husband was super supportive as usual. Don't worry, everything. And I'm like, that's $40,000 US. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is that sometimes it will be a bad investment. Sometimes it will be an investment worth not talking about ever again. But the point is, you can only learn or grow. And that's what happened to me. What did I learn the hard way? I learned, find the experts, even with your own budgeting. So there are many people who are experts and there are experts. There are people who would help you with your budgeting, help you with your financing for your business. You have to be able to select right. Ask them about their qualifications. Ask them about who they have worked with, their successes. So I didn't remember I didn't have all of that back then. I just had a nice, fancy degree, and I thought I was bright. So sometimes you have to be able to speak to the experts and ask them. The reason why we have 5-star, and 5-star seem to be the standard for everything from Amazon down to a pair of glasses or even a chain that you're buying. It's based on reviews. That is the reason. Find out, have they done it before? Who's succeeding because of what you're telling me you can do for me, right? And I really believe that you have to allow yourself, to go through the ropes and enjoy your life. But there comes a time in your personal life, like right now with some of the investments that I'm doing, I need to get a finance person, right? Because I had reached to that spot, and I had to make sure that I chose it right, and I made sure that I got the right experts, and that's important, right? So fail sometimes and just embrace it.
I think one of the things I heard Keshav say last week, his father is a pretty successful businessman, but he did mention that his father made some terrible investment choices. And many of the persons we glorify in business and in finance, we see the successes, but we don't hear about
these stories,
the poor choices that they would have made. So it's very important that persons know that from time to time, you might have a well-fleshed out plan, well-fleshed out idea, but sometimes it might flop. You might want to do a podcast, you start a podcast, nobody's watching it.
No, we'll share it, we'll make sure we share it.
Right? And
we share the life.
So things like that happen, and you just have to roll with the punches in life.
Maybe you were better off with Machu as your marketing person.
Well, that's the thing. Imagine I'm standing there trying to market, and these guys are having drinks, All
right, so we touched a bit on business, we touched a bit on finance, and we touched a bit on men. Last week when I brought up the women, when I mentioned that we're going to touch on the women, there was a massive laugh among the panel. This panel is a bit quieter, but maybe they're saving the fire for when the question is actually asked. Now, I've mentioned this for the past 2 weeks. Relationships between men and women have changed because of the different financial situations. Women are more financially empowered now. Women are more educated. Women are graduating with degrees and jobs. Way more than men. Like you mentioned earlier as well, women are statistically better financial managers than men. How has the shift in the dynamics between men and women, particularly financially, affected romantic relationships? I'm going to start out with that before I...
You went over this side, next side. Me? Oh.
Could probably start one of the married women.
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, maybe we'll get a more young marriage point of view, and then we'll get a more,
indeed.
For me, all right. Let me.
She has to be very careful with what she says.
I have to know how to put my words because my husband might be watching. So, I don't think that my husband is as financially literate or driven that I am. He's just basically, here's the money. I work, I do what I have to do. I make the money, then as long as the bills are paid, okay. That's basically it, I don't think that he would go do like budgeting and take the extra mile to go and figure out how could I probably get something like life insurance, life insurance investments, because life insurance now has certain type of investment aspects in it where you can get back savings and all of these things. It's basically for him, and that's just maybe that's just his personality. I don't know if that's a general thing, but I would more manage the financials and do the budgeting and do the allocation and all of that stuff. In terms of where our income goes, I'll share some of that. When we get our salaries, we put our salaries together, and then we pay the bills, and then we split it back. So you get your spending there, and I get my spending there. Savings is catered, emergency is catered, and we pay our normal debts, and then we put a percentage to an additional payment to that debt, and we pay from the smallest debt going up so that we finish the debts off, right? We do that, but then my business is my business. You're not going to get any of that money. If you want to have some extra money there, you're going to need to go and have some extra money somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta apply for a part-time job in the business. Come work for me.
So for us, I hear of a lot of people saying that a woman, I'm not the independent. No. We're gonna pay those bills.
Together.
I'm gonna help you. Yeah, but you're the man. You're the man. You do that stuff.
Yes.
You take care of that. I'm not the type of woman where I think that you need to do everything for me wholly and solely, but I also don't think that I'm going to take all of what I get and give it into managing and maintaining, because I'm doing what you're doing plus double. You know, I still have to manage the business. I still have to work just as much as you work. We work the same hours, and I have now the baby, and I have to feed you, and I have to cook, and I have to make sure the place is clean, and all these things. So for us, what we try to do is create some kind of mutual balance with the funding. Like we pay stuff together, and we do split.
The fun money.
We split the money, but we split the responsibilities as well. So it's not like you have this burden and I'm not helping you with any of that. So I think for our young people, based on what I hear from other young people, we have different morals and values in terms of our family and how we do stuff.
Yeah.
With money. And it works for us.
Yeah.
That's it. I think we might have been at work.
Yeah.
There's no one size fits all when it comes to this.
No. Okay, so I think I'm the next married one.
Yeah.
What I will say, ladies, marry your friend. I married my friend. So, something go wrong and I call Rowena and say, man, what happened? I have that with my husband. So that has permeated our entire lives in terms of even our finances and how we see finance. He's always been super supportive of what I do. We also know which one of us are best at what.
Yes.
So he knows that I'm good at budgeting and financing for the family. Not everything else. I'm not a finance person, but for our family, I am very shrewd about certain things. So I will do that. He is very good at keeping record and Lynn, did you talk to this person, that person, and he has all of the record. Oh, he's fantastic. So I say, you do that. You see? So that works for us. Then our relationship has been based on trust.
Yes.
So he never ever feels that I am not coming to the table with everything. And I never ever do it, right? When we talk about our family matters, it is on the table. I don't feel like, he might be using my money somewhere else, or I might be. Even down to setting up the business, we did it together, right? So whatever comes in, it belongs to the family. We've never in 20 years had a quarrel about finance. And that worked for us. And you know something we did that was subconscious? When I met him, I told him of my finance. When he met me, he told me about his finance. And we looked at both of those situations and decided on how are we going to work it. I remember when I met, imagine in 1993, I think I met my husband. He was driving a brand new Hilux. I'm like, you can't afford this. You can't afford this. We can't afford this if we have to go anywhere. You know, because at that time we were like you, young, you know, earning not a lot of money. But my boy is fat. I said, no. So let's do something a little cheaper, right? Let's sell this, let's do that. So that's the reality. So we had these conversations. When we had to get a car, I said, I made some very clear statements. I am not the mother with the baby running in the bus. I'm telling you, sir. So the day that ever happens, there are some things that has to happen for me. So the day I got a car, because I'm not carrying that baby. You know, what really did it for me, ladies, is that I was going into a bus, you know, as a young girl, and saw a lady running in the rain with the baby, and that child had hit to the top of that bus. Oh my gosh. I felt I was going to faint. The woman looks like if she was going to faint. I'm trying to help her with the bags and all of that. I was like, So in the finance conversation, women need to make some standards for themselves, you know? So I made that standard clear, and he was quite good with it, you know? But the point is the openness, the trust in the conversation. Very important. Don't be having 6 and 7 and 8 bank accounts and how many loans, and you tell the girl you ain't have nothing. Whereas when the marriage happened, she puts her little money with it, and then it all goes into a black hole. So, you know, trust is an important thing. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Good to see the growth.
Yeah, and we've grown together.
Yeah.
We've grown together. Yes.
So I think in my case, as a very unmarried person, just dating, just doing the thing. I have, oddly enough, always earned more than everybody I've dated. I now coming to this realization. And it's usually been an issue. In this relationship, it hasn't. Thankfully, because I got older and I got wiser and I laid certain cards out on the table from the inception. And I fast, right? So I've got to find out like what people are earning and how they manage their money very, very early. So way too early. Because I remember a past relationship I had where we were teenagers coming into like 19, that age, you know, everybody now start working, now get a little independence. And I remember that person started earning a bit of money and they weren't paying any tax on it. And every week they were earning about $40,000. So at the end of the month, it's $160,000 without tax. And this was years ago. So that was what people did consider a really good salary at that time for a young person, no experience, just out of high school, doing nothing. But this person, A, didn't have a bank account, B, didn't know how to save, C, had $0 at the end of the week. And I realized that I can't live with that type of thing. As much as I am fine with managing, helping, doing all that sort of thing, I don't want additional stress when it comes to finance-related things. I have seen people in my family and beyond make those mistakes, and I've always promised myself, I'm never getting married in that situation. I'm never making that mistake. I am never bringing children into this world, having to stress about children and stress about the man who, I can't do it. So if I am on this particular path of understanding what I earn and where my money goes, then I have to date somebody who either keeps me really accountable, as the person I'm dating now keeps me accountable. Like today I wanted to splurge on something and the person had to remind me like I'm saving for this particular thing. And that was really, really important to me because I was just gonna buy excessive food that would have been wasted, that I wasn't even hungry. I was like, oh my God, this looks nice, let me buy this. And it wasn't a need. And I'm saving for this particular thing. I think since I was young, I've always wanted to, save for particular things. I remember when I was in second form when BlackBerry was a really hot thing, and I really wanted this BlackBerry Curve 8520, and I cut it out from the newspapers, right? And I put it in my little diary and everything, and I used to tell myself, yeah, every day I gotta get this phone, because it was about 30-something thousand, and back then that was way too much for a phone. I could not have asked my mom for that. So I saved my really small allowance, really miniature allowance, and I saved, denied myself food sometimes, made sure I got that phone. And that was the first thing I did on my own. And I was 13, and I was super, super proud of that. And I think that kind of shaped the trajectory of my like saving life. So if I want a shoe, I'm not really that person, but whatever I want, I've always like sat down and planned it out and tried to figure out, how am I going to get this? What will it take? So at this stage in my life, I can only date somebody who thinks that way, or who probably tries to outdo me with the whole finance thing. But I do agree with you two ladies in terms of, I like to be the financial rein-in, because I do think that sometimes men think of things a bit differently, and I may sometimes have to say, you don't really need that car part this month. You really don't. The car will survive. It's not unnecessary. It's not maintenance. It's just something to be cute with or something. So can we do this differently? Can I use this money for a different thing, etc., something like that. So I think for the most part, I've tried to be that person. Even though we're not married, we don't really live together, but we've been supportive of each other's goals. And I know that whole lending money is a controversial thing, but I just lend people money, but only if I know the person's history and I know the type of person that person is. So yes, I lend my money, don't matter. If it's friends or anybody, I would lend anybody money once I know that it's going to be used for something that is good and get payback, because I like the bank, I like my things. So yeah.
To add to what she's saying, I think for us that are unmarried and just dating, like, it's absolutely important at what point do you introduce. I think there's like a whole lot of podcast by itself. At what point do you introduce the talk or the conversation about money? Because you don't want to go too early and you don't want to go too late. Right? And I feel like, and also you don't want to open up too much of your life and then have that and then it doesn't work out. So it's like, like for me, it's so tricky as to what point do you say, let's break. For me though, it's like when you get to the part where you're deciding to commit to this person and you're no longer dating, you're no longer looking out, you shut down everything else and you decide in your mind that I'm going to make this relationship serious with you. Of course, I'd like to know that, like, should anything come up and my money runs out, like, I'd like to know that I have a partner that I could turn to that has money as well. And I feel like, and I know like in Guyanese society, they like to, and I heard pieces of it on last week's podcast about women being gold diggers. And the guy had a great laugh about it. But what Matthew was saying is that, even if I was a woman, like, I'd be thinking, like, I do want a man with money. And that's absolutely fine. Like, it's okay to be a woman and want a man that has money and provides everything. And it's also okay to be a woman that wants to be independent and work hard for your own money. But for me, I have a problem being in a relationship with a male and I can't turn to them for money. Right? That's a need for me, because I know that I work hard and I know what I bring to the table. So I want to know that when I come to the table, there's something there already waiting for me. I don't want to struggle with you. Not at this age. Not at this age. Maybe when I was younger. But at this age and at this stage in my life, like, I've worked really hard to get here. And I feel like us women, like, we find ambition sexy, so we want, like, for some men, like, success is not an issue for them. Like, they don't care, they can't be bothered. And then for some, like, there's some just thirsty for, they're working, they're out there, they're hustling. And that's what I look for in a relationship or in a man. So when it comes to the finances part, we both have money. So it's not an instance where I am fully dependent on you. Yep. It's a situation where I can take care of myself, but I'm open and allowing you to do it as well if you want to and if we talk about it, and that's what is establishing the relationship. Like, that's fine. So for me, I don't like to see women as gold diggers or call them that. I mean, there are instances where that's the case, but it's relative. So it's like you said, it's like when you get into it with whoever, you just decide what works best for you.
Works best for you, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think just another small piece, because I know we gotta wrap up. But I've always believed that it's you must be able to allow people to want what they want. And even as Earlecia said, she's not a feminist. I know somebody in the comments ready to crucify something, but part of what feminism and all of this would have to be about is allowing people to make choices that are the best for them, that are right for them, whether that's in dating, whether that's in any particular belief system and all of that, whether even with money, generally, because I do believe that I do want somebody who can take care of themselves and take care of me, because I take care of myself and I can help take care of that person as well. Exactly. So I think for a lot of people, especially in these times, it's very mutual. And what works for you works for you. You can't look at somebody else's relationship and say, oh, I want this. Oh, because like I remember Keisha and Cohen came on, and a lot of people were in the comments like crying because Cohen has given Keisha all his money, and it's like I'm sure, like, I know all these things are said really in a fun, light way and specific to people's relationships, but I'm sure somebody's out there in a corner thinking, I want that to be me, or I want that to be right. So you have to think, what works for me, what works for mine might not work for somebody else. So
we get a lot of blast with that. Like when Johnny would say to somebody that he gives me, I take care of the money, I have his salary. So that's like, oh, bye, you what kind of mom is you?
See, yeah, a lot of people have that.
Right now, with you, this girl is controlling your money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that works for us. It might not work for another relationship, but that's what.
And a gold digger, folks, is a person in my mind who do nothing and look for a man with money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you work, like you're saying, Jenel, you're working and you're saying, I would like someone who's hustling as like me or
more than me.
That is not a wrong thing.
Or if you take care of the
Yes. Or if you, the thing is, I guess the gold diggers are the ones who show up fancy, do nothing all day, sip tea, and expect somebody to
trophy.
It's a different type of person. Yeah,
I totally agree with that. I don't believe, well, it's not that I don't believe, and I kind of understand the concept of an independent woman, but then just like, as you were talking, it came back, there's this movie, I can't remember the name, with Taraji.
Acrimony.
Well, that one too, but the one I was thinking is when she was this big executive and the guy was a chef, and she really was making way more than he was, and she had this lifestyle, or this thought in her head that she must be independent. And what it takes for me, it comes back also to like making kids. I have a friend that said, if I didn't have my husband, I don't know how single parents do this. I don't want to live that life, and I depend on my husband, and I let my husband be a husband.
Yes.
And so that makes sense because I'm working, you're working. I know what the level of independent is that I don't have to struggle for certain things, but then, as you said, I don't want to struggle with you either. And it really comes back to a lot of things that my friends, they don't realize that little things that they say really brings back like to points to my head, and I always remember it. I had another friend that said, I'm not going to make a baby with my girlfriend just because we've been together for so long, and I can't give her a life, or I'm not going to go engage her and I can't give her a life that her father gives her. And she's well off, and her father gets, she lives in a house. He's like, if I can't take her out to that house and put her into a house like it, then I can't take a shot. So so some people kind of understand that structure that, independence don't mean, or being an independent woman don't mean that you need somebody, you don't need a guy. Yes, bring the money, buy me things, make me look like, I could do it, but you could do it too. Similarly. So, you must be able to lean on the person, and so you never want to be like you're in a jam and you can't even go to the person that you're in a relationship with. So then I in a jam, you're in a jam.
And we can't do anything about it. I think it works both ways. I don't know, I can't remember if the guys mentioned it last week, but if my guy is in a jam, I should be able to help. If I'm in a jam, he should be able to help me. Anything I ask for, I can reciprocate in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to ask for something that I know if his back is against the wall and comes to me, I have to be like,
sorry,
but I can't.
Not the guys that's always in a jam though.
But no. You know you're saying this is like trouble, right? Because some of them just complain.
Yeah.
I complain for no reason at all. Like, you don't need to be sitting here complaining. I'm a woman, I'm doing what, 2 times as much as you, and I'm still making it work. Why can't you? But that doesn't mean if you and I are in a committed relationship and I'm seeing you work, you're always there for me. And the one time you reach out, I'm going to be like, no, be spending no money on no man. Exactly. So it goes that way.
Exactly. I also want to bring the point about the housewife. Because a gold digger is different from a housewife.
Yeah.
You know, you have women who have kids, and they decided with their husband that they're going to stay home and take care of those kids. Those women work.
That's a job.
That's a job on its
Yeah.
own. And you know, in the whole conversation, we always have to acknowledge the housewife, because that woman wakes up with her husband and her children, and she goes to sleep sometimes after them.
Or wake
So
up before
that,
them.
or you wake up before them, 4 o'clock to cook, and all of these different things. So this is also another thing. You know, sometimes people say, you know, she ain't doing nothing. She is doing.
Yeah.
She is doing. It's really overlooked in our society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard women mention a lot about standards and putting cars on the table and these things. What exactly are the standards, quote unquote, that women set when it comes to the financial status of their significant other? And as women earn more, there's a notion that the type of man they want shifts. So, for example,
Correct.
I think I asked the men this last week as well. You might be dating a person on this level when you're a data clerk. Now you get promoted to a manager, and suddenly these men become unattractive. And you need a man at this level. Is there anything wrong with that? And no, I'm not asking you to do that. Is that something that happens among women?
I think yes and no.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yes and no, because yes, a lot of people, I mean, as you grow, let's say you started working as a clerk or something at 21 and now you're 28 and you get this big promotion or whatever you're working for, $400,000, and the person you're dating hasn't moved much, hasn't bothered to move much, has worked the same public service job for 10 years and doesn't care to branch out. I think that can cause a problem because you feel you're on this big ambitious drive, working so hard with 7 years of experience and your degree, and you're pushing, and this person's like, yeah, I work for the government and get me gratuity once I pay the bills, I all right. And for a lot of people that becomes not enough, because when you're earning a different level of money, when you're in a whole different tax bracket, you have to think differently. You're not earning $150,000 anymore. You're literally paying a different rate of tax. You're going to be surrounded by different people. Your life is going to be different. So if you go to the bank and now you need a mortgage, certain banks actually don't consider, they will put you in an income bracket and say this is the type of loan you can afford. So if you now have to have a whole joint something, and if Ministry of Housing, there's a whole lot of variables. People tend to want to date people within their income structures, and that's fine. There are times where sometimes one person's career might not take off as fast as the other, and people stay in those relationships, and that too is perfectly fine. Sometimes, for example, you may get a new job, you may get a really big promotion, you get $100,000 extra, and the person you were dating yesterday is still working for $100,000. That doesn't mean, hey, I just leave this person. But if 5-10 years down the line, as people always bring up this whole ambition thing, it's bare minimum to, as a human being, want to grow. It's absolute bare minimum. I don't even think it's like, oh, I want a man with ambition. If I have girl children, please don't come and tell me I want a man with ambition. Human beings are naturally ambitious people. We have fought our way out of everything from wars to slavery to everything. Human beings want to improve their lives. So if you're a human being and you don't want to improve or you're not actively taking steps, there will always be barriers, something will always happen. But if you're not actively taking the steps and putting the things in place to move, then you can't just blame everybody around you and say, oh, well, the government ain't raising me salary. There's much more to life than that. So
For me, even as a small like you said, starting from a data clerk and then moving up, then is when your type of guy that you're interested in changes. I've always wanted to be spoiled and live lavishly by some kind of millionaire. Maybe I could have found a rice farmer from Burmese or something. But I think that for me, it didn't. I'm already a millionaire in my eyes, right? And I already see myself at that standard. And for me, I'm fine with my husband not wanting to be a millionaire as well. He can be the average guy and he can earn what he earns. And that's fine by me. I'll still, there's a lot more to relationships than money. I get so much peace out of my relationship as opposed to my previous relationship where they had a lot of money. They could have done stuff for me, but I don't want to have to deal with all the girls and all the stress and all the... I can make the money, okay, fine.
So this is what it comes with?
Keep it. That's what it comes with, keep it. Relationships are more dynamic than money, and so I get that peace and I get that support out of a husband, and I don't have a man that is filled with these toxic masculine views and thoughts. He helps me and he supports me and he's there. And so I'm in that zen and I get to make my money and still get your money. So that works for me.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, that's a good relationship.
What I see in terms of one person outgrowing the other is that I find that after a while we take each other for granted. And so when you met a partner or somebody that you are serious about, you need to listen and hear everything they say. And that sometimes in these conversations, you get to know what that person wants for their life. And I remember saying to my husband, he one time we were just having a conversation. He says, I want a professional woman. I say, well, so do I. I want a professional man. So that means if you were not at a particular level, get to where you need to get to, right? So imagine he says that, and I all of a sudden I'm just happy. I think at the time I was working in Parliament office. So I just work in Parliament all my life and just be a hand sergeant day in, day out. And then he rises to become wherever. He had already told me. And so what did I do about it? And that for me is the kind of public servant mentality that some persons, not saying anything bad about public servants, but some people have those mentalities that I work for the government, I'm going to get my gratuity at the end of whatever, so I don't need to do much. Meanwhile, the man is busy telling you he wants a professional woman, he wants a woman who goes to university, he wants, and you are not hearing him. So midway, there's a huge crisis because he's gone in the university and he see pretty girls in the university and there's a big fallout because we have not heard when each other speak, and that's important.
Yeah, can I jump right on that?
Sure.
I think, again, when I spoke earlier about knowing what you want as a person, like that helps so much. Before you get into a relationship or before you start to share your life with someone else, just knowing upfront, well, these are my boundaries, these are my expectations, this is what I want for myself, this is how I see my life in the next few years, so that when you get into that person is just coming to complement what you already have, or add to what you already have. Oh my gosh, I forgot. You asked a question earlier.
About the standards.
Yes. Oh, so for me, I feel like that has to do with self-growth as well and evolvement as a person. Not just what you make money wise, just like how you grow as a person. You learn more, you become wiser, and you realize, like for me personally, like the guys I was dating in my early 20s aren't guys I would date now that I'm almost 30, right? So it's like you realize that you have a different mindset. You've grown mentally. and you want someone who could embrace and complement that new you, that growing you.
I think a quick thing is that, for example, depends on your professions, right? Because he might rise to the top of his field. I'm going to use a plumber as an example. He might own a plumbing business. He might be taking home maybe, let's say, $300,000 a month after a couple of years, and he might be an expert in his field, but that might be the cap for now. But you might be a lawyer or something. So both of you are very ambitious. Both of you are working. Both of you might be at the top of your fields. You might be out earning him by several hundreds of thousands of dollars, several millions over a year. Your career might take you to places that his might not, but that does not mean that he might be less of a person, less worthy of dating. You're both where you said you wanted to be, but that journey has carried you to different places. So I see a lot of people, and it's fine, I guess, have issues dating people who earn less than them. And of course, that's fine if you believe so. But sometimes not every professional, unless this man is an engineer or a lawyer and you may be a teacher, in many cases, there's no guaranteed way to make sure that, unless you're like changing the person you date every 2 years, there's no guaranteed way to say that I will always earn less than my husband, or I will always earn, I will always be the person earning less because my man has to earn more. So unless you know for sure that you're in a profession that might cap out at a certain amount and his might be on and on and on, and then sometimes you do have to make allowances for the fact that you might out earn the man, and that's fine. Once the money comes in the house, it comes in.
We don't look at the money. Self-growth, personal growth in your relationship. If your relationship will grow. The person you are when you first meet, or when you first start dating to when you get married, you're different people. But then you have to look at your significant other. Are you pushing yourself to grow? Are you growing with me, or are you just remaining in this stagnant, complaining state that this is what we want, but you're not working with me to achieve that? Like someone once told me, our paths might be different, but once our destination is the same, we're going to be fine. So even if our tax brackets or salaries are different, once we've come to that understanding that this is what we want as a couple, and this is how we aim to achieve that, then we should be fine.
Conversely, I would say that there are some people who do not want a spouse at the same level as them.
That's true.
And that I have a friend actually who's in that relationship like that, but she was okay with it, right? She didn't want to get to where he was. He's a chemical engineer. And he says for him to get to where he needs to, she needs to be able to take care of the kids. But that was a communication that they had. I was not happy with it because I was like, you and I went to university together, what is going on? You should be doing. But that was me, I was just the outsider.
Yeah.
But the two people were okay with what, up to now they're still married, the kids are grown, they are going halfway around the world, and they're happy.
Some men feel emasculated.
They would.
Some men do
Some
get
would.
emasculated.
So the communication between the two seemed to have worked.
And I think it comes back to that, since you're on that point, and you made mention of people tend to start taking for granted each other in whatever way. You need to listen to what somebody's saying. It might just be in a passing conversation. It might be a face-to-face, flat out. This is what I want. This is what how I see this happening in the next couple of years. But you really ought to listen. And as you grow, people get comfortable. And relationship going on for years and years, and you get this is okay. It's comfortable. It's not necessarily stagnant, but then you look back and you're making certain comments and certain things. Emotionally, mentally, you're not there to grow or support, and then one person feels strained or feel like they're doing all the work, whether it's financially or otherwise. So I get that. For me, communication and listening, those are major parts on whether your standards are, we need to earn similar salaries, or I'm okay with you earning about me, or whatever that is. But communication and ensure that you try and listen. And for me, any relationship, work, anywhere, communication is so key.
Yes. In relationships, when dealing with money and things like that, you have to make sure that what we agreed on at the start of the relationship might change, can change. And so you have to make sure that you're doing check-ins and you're communicating with your partner to say, hey, when we first started, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but now I think I want to go out there and I want to get my degree, or I want to, and we have to. It's important that you can be able to reach each other halfway. So where I might want a special type of man, or you might want a special type of woman, you came into this relationship knowing that I am not that and you are not that, right? But together, speaking with each other, we try to meet on some kind of common ground. I might can't be that full 100, but we try to fit in with each other where, okay, you want somebody, you want a rich wife or a professional wife, or you want a wife that contributes to the household. Okay, I can maybe find a remote job where I can work from home and I can do some, bring in some income. That's fine, I'm still at home. You know, something like that. So you gotta be able to speak with each other, check in with each other, because you might be changing and growing vastly, and I'm not checking in with you.
Right.
You're just going to, you're going to despise me because like you just sit down there and we didn't tell each other what's.
And there's another issue on this whole situation, and that is the issue of mutual respect. So you know, we go out, you are a big time engineer, and you are okay with your wife being, you know, maybe a stay-at-home mom, or maybe working, like Matthew said, as a clerk in an office. But you go out with your friends and you want to tell her, oh no, you don't understand this type of conversation. So all of a sudden she feels less a person belittling. Exactly. So you the issue is that once this communication has happened between you, you are living your life, but you need to also always respect each other. You know, or your husband is a plumber and you are a lawyer, so you were talking about the law and repealing the law and blah blah blah. And he said, well, I don't agree. You said, well, what you know about this? And tell everybody. You know, these things are demeaning, and that is important too.
Now, as you wrap up, I have a personal pet peeve with women on this same topic, because I'm going to use my life as an example. There are certain girls that you would have approached probably three or 4 years ago, and you probably never got a response.
You're left on, right?
Now,
Local celebrity.
those same girls, they're the ones now reaching out to you. And you know, the entire circumstance and situation is shifting. I don't understand that. Explain that to me.
That's what we've been talking about.
I feel that, you know, when I was here, and I'm probably still here, but it's just the perception now.
That's very true.
That's changed, and you think now, I'm at a different level, right?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think you should be offended by that. I think that you should feel good about that, because she had a particular standard for herself, and she still has, and you just didn't meet that standard, and now that you do, well, hey,
Even if
I think
it's just perception.
you grow. So you say that, okay, something I did right, I'm doing something because the girl,
But
she's
now,
interested now.
you can politely let her know
That you're not
You're not
slightly different perspective.
I saw a meme.
No, you do. Go ahead.
I saw a meme recently that said, girls see you looking good in public, then respond to your message from 2016. And because now you have our attention. Right?
Yeah, so
But I don't think we mean to be disrespectful or anything. We were just busy, and now we got around. And now we got around. And now we got around to seeing it.
Well, not fully disagree, but I understand to that point where maybe the person, or you in this case, you weren't appealing for several reasons. And again, perception, because you may be at the same level.
Yeah.
It's just that you're now on social media and your face is out there. It don't mean that you're making the millions. It could mean, but then she's assuming that, or they're assuming that. So it gives you the impression of gold digging kind of thing. I get it. And personally, we all have been in this thing where if you wasn't shooting with me in the gym, why are you at me now? You know, I get that as well. But I think again, it comes back to communication. Why leave the person? Why leave the boyfriend on scene? You know, you leave just start a conversation, just say, man, I'm not interested at this point, or whatever it is. And then to me, I would respect somebody more in that sense. And so I get where you come from, like, why women do that. Because generally, it's probably, again, women don't know how to communicate sometimes certain things, don't want to make people feel bad, but then they don't understand that leaving somebody on red is making them feel bad. And then when you're going to come at me 3 years later when you're seeing my face out there, I'm going to be inclined to be like, girl.
So
So I kind of get it, but it comes back to, again, for me, communication. And you have every right to either leave them on red.
Yes.
But you can be the bigger person and respond, you know? And
You
say,
didn't respond to me at this point.
I'm trying to find out why.
Why?
Yeah.
Sis, I messaged you 3 years ago.
So I wanted to sort of bring on the point because I have a best friend who's male, and for many years, well, he's probably the definition of what a nerd is to me and to him. But then he got a new job over the last year and a half or so, and the perception has changed. And the girls that would not look his direction a year and a half ago are literally running, crawling, begging, screaming, crying.
But he's still a nerd now.
And yes, he's the same person. Nothing has changed, but the perception has changed. Now he got on a little suit and tie, and now somebody think ahead is some big ministry official, when it really is just not a public servant working, doing what he needs to do. But he often says this thing that, you know, men are worth more than their money and all of that. And I tend to agree with him a lot of times. Because while what all of you said can be true, at the same time, another thing that can be true is that I see this man and I see that he earns more. And yes, it may be my standard, but a lot of men might feel like my money is what was worth her time. And she would not have loved me or being interested in me if I didn't have this perceived, if I didn't meet this standard, which is fine. But it's like me, I'm a girl of a certain size, understand? And if I message a guy and I'm interested in him for any reason, and he decides me want to teach a little too burden on fatness, you know? And maybe I go to the gym and I get really serious or whatever. Let's say I slim down 15 pounds and I get abs or some miraculous thing. And he messages me. Of course I don't feel away. Of course I'm going to feel like this man wants me for my body, and that he might have honestly not liked girls. That's not his preference, and now I'm his preference. But rightfully, I still feel like I want to be loved for, even though physical attraction is a big thing, I do want to be loved for something deeper than my body, just as many men will want to be loved for something deeper than their ability to provide, right? So that's just that.
Well, for me, so I was the nerd. I wore glasses from 4 years old.
Wow.
So I was the girl with the bottom, what do you say, the
glass.
Yeah. Right? So some people just didn't see me, you know, and that was okay with me, because they were the ones who really did see me were up to the day my true friends.
Right.
So over time, we were all in the A class, but I was also the girl who was in the A class but didn't make it for QC. So all of a sudden, more friends dropped off because you know now standard, now lead. It's a similar thing. So you know. You walk through the streets, you see the people you went to school with, they look through you like you're not there, and then all of a sudden, this nerd continues on her journey, and she leaves the Caribbean, she heads to Europe, she studies, she blah blah blah, she comes back like a hot shot. All of a sudden, everybody is now your friend, and who I knew, I'm that way. You know, so my girlfriends are my friends, and some of the very boys that would not even look your way, you know, like, all of a sudden, who want to take me out to this, to that.
Yeah.
No, not interested, because there was a time And then the nerd became some of their boss. So that became even another story to tell. So, don't laugh at the nerd. He might turn around or she might turn around and become your boss.
But doesn't that make you feel good? Like you did something?
That made me feel very good. But I'll tell you what, in looking back on it, my experiences could have been different. Right? So, even there were a few of them who used to jeer me and even call me blind because my glasses were thick. I look like a nerd. And I'm not even scared to say. So the point is, over time, as you flourish, you will see those same people coming. But you would probably be on a different trajectory because I was. I was on self-development, I was on developing people, and so on. So the quick hi and how you doing, it didn't hurt me.
Right.
Sometimes you give me one of those handsome smiles, hi, how you doing? Move along, keep it pushing.
Keep it pushing like a catfish.
I'm going to become a serious media mogul because I think you will. Then all of a sudden you'll see more of them coming.
Yeah.
But the nice, quiet lady who was always nice to you will still be there.
Yeah.
I have that. I've had that. This is my life.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you guys for being an amazing panel. I really enjoyed tonight's session. And I want to encourage you guys to tune in again. We're taking a 2 weeks break. We'll be back in April. We need to refuel and refresh, come back stronger and better. So we'll be back in April for the next episode of Common Sense. I can't say now who's going to be on, but April is tax season, and we might have the tax guys on. We're talking about taxes, right? But women and money, thank you very much to all of you wonderful women. We really enjoyed tonight's session, and don't forget to like the page, follow us on Common Sense at Instagram and YouTube, and don't forget to pick up your merch. As you can see, I have one wonderful jersey here. Girls just want to have fun. You can pick up yours at OMAU. That's located at Tower Suites on Main Street. And don't forget to grab your Lucozade and have a wonderful night. And before you go, don't forget to tune in to my good friend Gabi's show. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 97.5 FM. For more conversations about women and everything, all the other aspects of women that I can't touch on this podcast, you can tune into Gabi's show to learn more about those stuff. And have a wonderful night.
From mommy can't be a failure, gotta be somebody, gotta make some money. Yeah. Common sense, you can't be a dunce-dog, you gotta get sense. Save every dollar, make investments. Can't surround yourself with bare silly friends. Watch Common Sense with Matthew, Facebook, Instagram, plus YouTube. Get some Lucozade and link with your crew. Money conversations is what we do. Gosh. Common sense, you can't be a dunce-dog, you gotta get sense. Save every dollar, make investments. Can't surround yourself with bare silly friends. Watch Common Sense with Matthew, Facebook, Instagram, plus YouTube. Get some Lucozade and link with your crew. Money conversations is what we do.